My dad bought me long-sleeve shirts for 3 years and never wondered why I refused to take them off. It started the summer I turned 14. We were at the mall and Dad steered me toward a clothing store I'd never been to before. He pulled out his wallet and told me to pick out whatever I wanted, which was unusual because money was tight after Mom left. I grabbed some tank tops and shorts because it was June and already hitting 90 degrees most days, but Dad shook his head and pointed to the long-sleeved section. Something practical, he said. Something that covers your arms properly. I thought it was weird, but I didn't argue. I picked out 3 long-sleeved shirts and he bought all of them without checking the price tag. Over the next 3 years, this became a pattern. Every few months, Dad would take me shopping and buy me more long-sleeved shirts. Different colors, different styles, but always long sleeves. He never explained why, and I never asked. By sophomore year, my entire wardrobe was long sleeves. I wore them to school when everyone else was in t-shirts. I wore them to gym class and got weird looks from other girls in the locker room. I wore them to bed even though I'd wake up sweating through the fabric. My best friend Marissa asked me about it once during lunch. Why do you always wear long sleeves, even in summer? Before I could answer, Dad appeared out of nowhere. He'd never come to my school during lunch before. He put his hand on my shoulder and smiled at Marissa. She has sensitive skin, he explained. Sun allergies, very serious condition. Marissa seemed to accept this and changed the subject, but I noticed Dad stayed in the parking lot for another 20 minutes, just sitting in his truck, watching the cafeteria windows. The strange part wasn't just the shirts, it was how Dad acted whenever I got close to taking them off. During PE, when we had swimming units, Dad would write excuse notes claiming I had an ear infection. When relatives visited and the house got hot, Dad would turn the AC down to 65 degrees so I'd have a reason to stay covered. At my cousin's wedding last summer, the venue was outdoors and it was 95 degrees. I started rolling up my sleeves at the reception because I was literally dizzy from the heat. Dad grabbed my wrist so hard it hurt and pulled the fabric back down. Keep them covered, he whispered. Please. His voice sounded desperate and scared. I'd never heard my dad sound scared before. My Aunt Rachel noticed the interaction and later pulled me aside in the bathroom. She asked if everything was okay at home. If Dad was hurting me, I told her everything was fine because I honestly didn't know what else to say. But she kept staring at my arms like she was trying to see through the fabric. That night after the wedding, I heard Dad on the phone with someone. His voice was low, but I could make out some of what he said. She doesn't know yet. I'm trying to keep it that way as long as possible. No, she hasn't seen them. I'm being careful. I pressed my ear against his bedroom door, trying to hear more, but he went quiet suddenly, like he knew I was there. The next morning at breakfast, Dad seemed nervous. He kept glancing at my arms even though they were covered like always. He asked if I'd been feeling okay lately, if I'd noticed anything different about myself. I said no, which was mostly true, but that was a lie. I had noticed something. For the past few months, my arms had been tingling at night, not painfully, just this strange buzzing sensation under my skin that would keep me awake. And sometimes in the mirror when I got out of the shower, I'd catch glimpses of something on my forearms, shadows or marks that would disappear when I looked directly at them. I'd convinced myself I was imagining things. That stress from school was making me see stuff that wasn't there. But after that wedding, after hearing Dad's phone call, I started wondering if maybe I wasn't imagining it after all. Last Tuesday, I stayed home sick from school. Dad had to go to work and couldn't take the day off. Before he left, he checked 3 times that I was wearing long sleeves even though I was just going to be alone in the house. After he left, I stood in the bathroom for 10 minutes staring at my covered arms. My heart was pounding so hard I could hear it. Slowly, I rolled up my right sleeve to my elbow, and that's when I saw what my dad had been hiding for 3 years. The rest of the story is on my channel or linked below. The markings cover my entire forearm. Intricate patterns swirl beneath my skin, glowing with a faint blue-white light under the harsh bathroom fluorescence. They look like some kind of ancient script, delicate lines that curve and connect in ways that seem almost deliberate, like they're spelling out words in a language I don't understand. I rub my finger across one of the brighter patterns. It doesn't feel different from the rest of my skin. No raised edges, no texture change, just the faint warmth radiating from wherever the light glows brightest. This can't be real, I whisper. Turning on the faucet, I grab the hand soap and scrub frantically at my arm, watching as suds build up and rinse away. The markings remain unchanged, glowing steadily beneath my skin. I'm still standing there, staring at my arm, when I hear the front door open. Hey, I'm home early, Dad calls out. Where are you? My heart races as I quickly yank my sleeve back down. In the bathroom, I shout, my voice cracking. I'll be right out. I splash cold water on my face, trying to compose myself, but when I look in the mirror, I barely recognize the terrified girl staring back at me. When I step into the hallway, Dad is standing there, his keys still in hand. One look at my face and his expression changes completely. You saw them, didn't you? He asks quietly. The question hangs in the air between us. I don't answer, but I don't have to. He knows. Let me see, he says, his voice gentle but firm. Slowly, I roll up my sleeve again. The markings seem to pulse slightly brighter, as if responding to the attention. Dad's face pales as he looks at them, and I see something in his eyes I've never seen before, a mixture of fear and resignation. I knew this would happen eventually, he sighs, running his hand through his hair. I just hoped we'd have more time. What is this? I demand, my voice trembling. What's happening to me? Dad looks around nervously, as if someone might be listening. Not here. Come on. He leads me to the living room, checking that all the blinds are closed before sitting me down on the couch. He paces for a moment, like he's trying to figure out where to start. Those markings, he finally says, they're from your mother's side of the family. Mom? The word feels strange in my mouth. We hardly ever talk about her. It's genetic, he continues. They appear during puberty, usually around 15 or 16. I've been watching for signs since you turned 14. He gestures at my arms. That's why the long sleeves. I needed to make sure they stayed covered if they appeared. But what are they? I ask again, looking down at my covered arms. They're a sign of what your mother's family calls the awakening. The markings appear when certain abilities start to manifest. Abilities? Dad, you're not making any sense. He sits down beside me, taking my hands in his. Your mother didn't leave us by choice, he says, his voice breaking slightly. She left to protect us to protect you. There are people who hunt those with the markings. They've been doing it for generations. My mind reels, trying to process what he's saying. Hunt? Like kill? Sometimes worse, Dad says grimly. They want what the markings represent. Power, knowledge, abilities that most people don't have. I pull my hands away from his. You're scaring me. Good, he says firmly. You should be scared. This isn't a game. Those people who hunt your kind, they're very real and very dangerous. My kind. Dad sighs heavily. I'm not explaining this well. Your mother would know what to say. He looks at me with sad eyes. The markings are beautiful, aren't they? I nod slowly, remembering the intricate patterns. They're like a map, he continues. A key to something ancient. Your mother tried to explain it to me once, but there were parts even she didn't understand. All I know is that they're passed down through her bloodline, and they mark you as special. Is that why Aunt Rachel was asking about my arms at the wedding? Did she know? Dad nods. Rachel suspected. She saw similar markings on your mother years ago. That's why she was concerned. She thought I was hiding evidence of hurting you, but instead you were hiding evidence of whatever this is. I gesture to my arms. I was trying to keep you safe, Dad says defensively. The longer you went without knowing, the longer you were protected. Once you become aware of what you are, the markings grow stronger, more visible. They can find you more easily then. Who are they? I ask. They call themselves collectors, Dad says, his voice dropping to almost a whisper. Your mother was taken by them 7 years ago. I've been trying to keep you hidden ever since. The revelation hits me like a physical blow. Mom didn't leave us? She was taken? Dad nods, his eyes filling with tears. I couldn't tell you. How do you tell a child that her mother was hunted down because of something in her blood? Something that might be in your blood too? I feel dizzy, overwhelmed by everything he's saying. So all this time, the long sleeves, the excuses, the paranoia it was to hide these markings? To hide you. Dad corrects. The markings are just the visible sign of what you are. And what exactly am I ask, my voice barely audible. Dad looks at me with a mixture of fear and pride. The last of your mother's bloodline. And if those markings are anything like hers, you're going to discover things about yourself that will change everything. A chill runs through me as I remember the tingling in my arms at night, the shadows I'd glimpse in the mirror. It wasn't my imagination after all. What happens now? I ask. Dad takes a deep breath. Now we prepare. The markings will get stronger, more noticeable, and eventually, the collectors will come looking. For me, I whisper. Dad nods grimly. For you. I spend the night in a research rabbit hole, hunched over my laptop with the brightness turned down low. Every search for ancient script markings on skin leads me to increasingly bizarre forums and academic sites. Some of the symbols I sketch from memory match fragments of Sumerian cuneiform, others look like obscure alchemical symbols, and a few bear striking resemblance to what linguists call proto-writing from civilizations that predate recorded history. The tingling in my arms has gotten worse since Dad's confession. It's like the markings are responding to my awareness of them, pulsing with a subtle warmth that intensifies whenever I focus on them directly. At 2 a.m., I stumble across an archived university database with photographs of ancient tablets. The symbols are eerily similar to what's on my skin. The translation notes mention vessels of power and the marked bloodline. My heart races as I download everything I can find. What are you still doing up? I slam my laptop shut at the sound of Dad's voice. He's standing in my doorway, his silhouette dark against the hallway light. Nothing, I say too quickly. Just homework. He steps into my room, eyes fixed on my closed laptop. I couldn't sleep. Dad sits on the edge of my bed, running his hand through his hair. You've been researching the markings, haven't you? When I don't answer, he sighs deeply. I understand your curiosity, but this isn't something you should be looking into online. It leaves traces, digital footprints that they can follow. The collectors? He nods grimly. They have resources, technology, they monitor certain search patterns, so I'm just supposed to accept all this without understanding what's happening to me? I pull up my sleeve, revealing the faint glow beneath my skin. These are on my body, Dad. I have a right to know what they mean. Dad reaches for my laptop. Let me see what you found. I hesitate, then hand it over. He opens it, the blue light illuminating his tired face as he scrolls through my research. With each page, his expression grows more alarmed. This is exactly what I was afraid of, he mutters. Then without warning, he yanks out my laptop's battery. What are you doing? I cry out. Protecting you, he says, pocketing the battery. Tomorrow we'll get you a new laptop. This one needs to disappear. You can't just, I can and I will, he snaps with unexpected ferocity. You have no idea what you're dealing with. The lamp on my nightstand suddenly flickers, then the bulb explodes with a pop, showering glass onto the floor. We both freeze in the darkness. Did you? Dad whispers. I don't know. I answer truthfully, my heart hammering. The next morning, Marissa comes over to study for our history test. We spread our textbooks across my bedroom floor, but I can barely focus. Every few minutes, I catch her glancing at my arms. Are you okay? She finally asks. You seem different. I'm fine. I lie, tugging at my sleeves. You know you can tell me anything, right? She reaches for my arm, and I jerk away instinctively. Sorry, I mutter. Just jumpy. Your arm was glowing last night, she says quietly. I freeze. What? When we were studying late at the library, your sleeve rode up, and I saw this weird blue light. She leans closer. I thought it was just the fluorescent lights playing tricks, but before I can respond, the doorbell rings. Dad's voice calls up the stairs, sounding tense. Can you come down? Aunt Aunt Rachel's here. Marissa gives me a look. We're not done talking about this. Downstairs, Aunt Rachel is pacing the living room. She stops when she sees me, her eyes immediately going to my covered arms. Show me, she demands without preamble. Dad steps between us. Rachel, we agreed. That was before I knew they'd started appearing. She cuts him off. I need to see them. The intensity in her voice makes me slowly roll up my sleeves. The markings are more visible than yesterday, the patterns more defined. Aunt Rachel inhales sharply. It's true, she whispers, reaching out to trace the patterns with her finger. You're the last one, the marked one. The what? I ask. The last of your mother's bloodline to bear the full markings. She looks at Dad accusingly. You should have told me sooner. I was trying to protect her, Dad insists. By keeping her in the dark? That's the worst thing you could have done. Aunt Rachel turns back to me. These markings are a map, a key, and a weapon, all in one. They connect you to knowledge that's been hidden for millennia. That's enough, Dad says sharply. No, it's not enough, I shout, suddenly furious. The textbooks on the coffee table slide off and crash to the floor without anyone touching them. We all stare at them in shocked silence. It's starting, Aunt Rachel murmurs. Dad sinks into a chair, his face pale. Your mother could do that too. When she was upset, things would move. Where is she, Dad? The truth this time. He looks up at me, eyes glistening. You said she left to protect us, I counter. That's what I believed for years, he admits. But 6 months ago, I received proof she's alive, being held somewhere. And you didn't tell me? I was going to wait until you were 18, until you were ready to what? Save her? The lights flicker as my anger rises. Aunt Rachel places a steadying hand on my shoulder. Control your emotions. The markings respond to them. I take a deep breath, trying to calm down. There's a book, I say suddenly, not knowing where the knowledge comes from. In Dad's study, behind the false panel in the bookcase. Dad looks at me in shock. How could you possibly know that? I don't answer because I don't understand it myself. Instead, I walk to his study, directly to the bookcase, and press a specific section of molding. A hidden compartment slides open, revealing an ancient leather-bound book. As soon as I touch it, the markings on my arms pulse brightly. I open the book to find pages filled with the same symbols that cover my skin, and somehow, impossibly, I can read them. I can't look at Marissa the same way after what happens next. She watches me from the doorway as I trace the symbols in the ancient book, her expression unreadable. You can read that, can't you? She asks quietly. I nod, not looking up. Somehow, I knew it. There's something different in her voice now. Not the concern of a friend, but the satisfaction of someone confirming a theory. It's happening faster than we expected. The word we makes me freeze. I look up at her, really look at her, and see a stranger wearing my best friend's face. Who are you? I whisper. Marissa steps into the study, closing the door behind her. I'm still Marissa, just more than you knew. She pulls up her sleeve to reveal a small tattoo on her wrist, a symbol that matches one of the markings on my arm. I've been watching you for the society. Dad lunges forward, putting himself between us. You're with them all this time? Not the collectors, she says quickly, raising her hands. The Protection Society. We've been monitoring her since the markings first started appearing beneath her skin. You knew? I feel sick. For how long? Since 8th grade, she admits. I was assigned to befriend you, to watch for signs. But, she hesitates. The friendship became real, I swear. Before I can process this betrayal, my phone buzzes with a text. It's from Dad's number, but he's standing right in front of me. They've found us. Get out now. Take nothing. Trust Rachel. I show Dad the message. His face drains of color as he pulls out his own phone. I didn't send this. Aunt Rachel snatches the phone from my hand. It's a warning system your father set up. If his security protocols were breached, it would send automated messages. She turns to Dad. You need to leave. Now. I'm not leaving her, Dad insists. You have to, Rachel says firmly. You're the one they'll track first. We need to separate. What's happening? I demand, but nobody answers me. The lights flicker, then go out completely. Through the darkness, the markings on my arms glow brighter than ever before, casting eerie blue shadows across the room. The full moon, Rachel whispers, staring at my arms. Look, the pattern is completing itself. I watch in horror and fascination as the disconnected symbols on my arms begin to shift, flowing like liquid beneath my skin until they form a continuous, intricate design from wrist to elbow. The moment the pattern completes, pain explodes behind my eyes. I collapse to my knees, vaguely aware of someone catching me before I hit the floor. A vision floods my mind, a concrete room with no windows, walls covered in strange symbols. In the center sits a woman with her back to me, dark hair streaked with gray, arms covered in markings identical to mine. Mom, I gasp, coming back to reality. I saw her. She's alive. Dad kneels beside me, his eyes wide. Where? Did you see where they're keeping her? Before I can answer, the front door splinters open with a deafening crack. Heavy footsteps move through the house. They're here. 3 figures in dark clothing burst into the study. They wear strange goggles that glow faintly green, and each carries what looks like a modified stun gun. The marked one, the leader says, his voice distorted through some kind of mask. Secure her. Kill the others. Everything happens in slow motion. Dad lunges at the intruders. Aunt Rachel pulls something from her pocket, a small metal disc that she throws to the floor. It explodes in a blinding flash of light. I hear Marissa scream. The leader reaches for me. His gloved hand inches from my arm when something inside me snaps. The markings on my arms burn like fire, and without thinking, I thrust my hands forward. A wave of energy erupts from my palms, sending the intruders flying backward through the wall. The silence that follows is deafening. I stare at my hands in shock, the markings now pulsing with a steady rhythm. How did I? The defensive aspect, Rachel says, picking herself up from the floor. Your mother could do it too, but never that powerfully. Dad is slumped against the bookcase, blood trickling from a cut on his forehead. Marissa helps him to his feet. We need to move, Rachel says. They'll send more. What are these markings? I demand, grabbing her arm. What do they want from me? Rachel looks at me with a mixture of fear and awe. The markings aren't just symbols, they're a map to something ancient, a repository of knowledge that's been hidden for millennia. The collectors want to extract that information, even if it kills you, like they're trying to do with Mom, I realize. Yes, Rachel nods. Your mother's markings contained half the map, yours contain the other half. Together, they reveal the location. We make it to Rachel's car just as more black vehicles pull up to our house. As we speed away, I see Dad's face in the rearview mirror. He's not coming with us. Dad! I try to open the door, but Marissa holds me back. He's drawing them away, she explains, giving us time to escape. Hours later, we find him in an abandoned gas station 20 miles outside of town, bleeding from a gunshot wound to his shoulder. They caught up to me, he gasps, as Rachel works to stop the bleeding. No choice about what? I ask. Dad looks up at me, his eyes filled with shame. I've been working with them, the collectors, for years. The revelation hits me like a physical blow. You what? After they took your mother, they threatened to take you too. I made a deal. I would help them track others with the markings if they left you alone. His voice breaks. I thought I was protecting you. By hunting people like me, like Mom, the betrayal cuts deeper than I could have imagined. I never gave them anyone they didn't already know about, he insists. I was buying time, trying to find your mother. As we argue, the markings on my arms begin to shift again, forming new patterns. Words appear in the ancient script, glowing brighter than before. What does it say? Rachel asks. I trace the symbols with my finger, translating as I go. The keeper stands at the crossroads. Choose the path of knowledge or the path of power. One saves what you love, the other destroys it. It's a message, Marissa whispers. The markings are trying to tell you something. I look down at my glowing arms, then at my injured father, thinking of my captive mother and the people hunting us. They're telling me I have to make a choice, I say quietly, and I think I'm running out of time. The mountain road twists through dense forest as Aunt Rachel's car climbs higher into elevation I've never experienced before. My arms pulse with a steady blue glow beneath my sleeves, impossible to hide anymore. Beside me, Marissa keeps glancing at them, her expression a mixture of awe and calculation. How much further? I ask, watching my father's labored breathing in the passenger seat. The makeshift bandage on his shoulder is soaked through with blood. Another hour, Rachel answers, her eyes fixed on the winding road. The sanctuary is hidden deep in these mountains. It's been the refuge of the marked for centuries. The word sanctuary sparks something in my mind. Images flash before my eyes, stone walls covered in the same symbols that decorate my arms, people with various patterns of markings moving through torchlit corridors. I can see it, I whisper. How can I see a place I've never been? The markings, Dad says weakly. They're connecting you to your heritage. Your mother experienced the same thing when her markings fully manifested. I look away from him, still processing his betrayal. You don't get to talk about her, not after what you did. The car falls silent except for the hum of tires on asphalt. As we climb higher, my ears pop and the markings on my arms grow warmer, almost hot to the touch. They're responding to proximity, Rachel explains, noticing my discomfort. The sanctuary was built on a convergence point of ancient energy. The closer we get, the stronger your connection becomes. When we finally arrive, I'm almost disappointed. The sanctuary looks like an abandoned ranger station nestled among towering pines. Its wooden exterior is weathered gray, windows dusty and unremarkable. This is it? I ask as we park beside two other nondescript vehicles. Rachel smiles. Appearances can be deceiving. Inside, the transformation is immediate and impossible. The small cabin opens into a vast underground complex of stone chambers and hallways that couldn't possibly fit beneath the structure above. Soft blue light emanates from crystals embedded in the walls, the same color as my markings. We're met by 3 elders, 2 women and 1 man, all with faint traces of markings visible on their exposed skin. They bow slightly when they see me, their eyes widening at the intensity of the glow from my arms. The marked one, the oldest woman says, her voice carrying both reverence and concern. You've come at last. I didn't exactly have a choice, I reply. The woman approaches, extending her hands. May I? Reluctantly, I roll up my sleeves. The elders gather around, studying the intricate patterns that now cover my forearms completely. Extraordinary, the male elder murmurs. The most complete manifestation I've seen in generations. What exactly are these markings? I demand. Everyone keeps talking about them like I should understand, but nobody will give me a straight answer. The elders exchange glances before the older woman speaks. Come, there is much to show you. They lead us deeper into the sanctuary, through corridors lined with artifacts and ancient texts. Dad is taken to a medical chamber where healers attend to his wound. I'm almost relieved to see him go. We enter a circular chamber with a pool of still water at its center. The ceiling opens to the night sky, revealing stars brighter than I've ever seen them. Your bloodline, the elder begins, descends from the keepers, an ancient order tasked with safeguarding knowledge too dangerous for the world at large. The markings are both key and map to this knowledge, passed genetically from one generation to the next. She gestures to the pool. Look, I peer into the water and gasp. Reflected on the surface are images of my mother, not as I remember her, but now, older, her face lined with exhaustion. She sits in a sterile room, arms strapped to a chair as men in lab coats examine markings identical to mine. Mom, I whisper, reaching toward the water. The moment my fingertips touch the surface, the connection between us ignites. I feel her presence, her pain, her determination. She's in a facility near Lake Tahoe, I say, the knowledge flowing through me. Underground, beneath an abandoned mining operation. Rachel grips my shoulder. How do you know that? I can see it, feel it. The collectors have been extracting information from her markings for years, the male elder explains. Slowly, painfully. They've learned much, but not the final secret, the location of the repository. For that, they need both sets of markings, yours and hers. What's in this repository that's so important? important. The younger female elder steps forward. Technology and knowledge from civilizations long forgotten. Weapons that could reshape the world. Cures for diseases we consider incurable. Power beyond imagination. And you've been hiding this? Marissa interrupts. People are suffering, dying, because humanity isn't ready. The older woman cuts her off. The last time this knowledge was released, entire civilizations collapsed. Some technologies require wisdom to wield properly. Before we can continue, alarms blare throughout the sanctuary. A young man rushes into the chamber, panic etched on his face. The collectors, he gasps. They've found us. The sanctuary erupts into organized chaos. The elders usher us toward a hidden passage as others prepare defenses. Through stone corridors we run, the sounds of fighting echoing behind us. How did they find us so quickly? Rachel demands. The realization hits me with sickening clarity. I turn to my father, who's been brought along despite his injury. It was you, wasn't it? You led them here. His face crumples. I didn't have a choice. They have your mother. They threatened to... A explosion rocks the sanctuary, cutting him off. The markings on my arms flare brilliantly in response to my anger and fear. I feel power surging through me, raw and unfocused. Control it, the older woman urges. Channel it with purpose, or it will consume you. I close my eyes, focusing on the energy flowing through my veins. The markings respond, their glow stabilizing, the heat becoming manageable. When I open my eyes, I know what I have to do. I can stop them, I say with sudden certainty. Show me how. For the next hour, as the collectors breach deeper into the sanctuary, the elders teach me to harness the power of my markings. It's like learning to control a muscle I never knew I had, directing energy through specific patterns to achieve different effects. When the collectors finally break through to our chamber, I'm ready. Their leader steps forward, a tall woman with cold eyes and a surgical scar across her throat. The marked one, she says, her voice artificial through an electronic device. Come quietly, and we'll spare the others. Like you spared my mother? I reply, the markings on my arms pulsing with controlled energy. She smiles thinly. Your mother made her choice, as did your father. Dad steps forward, positioning himself between us. No more. This ends now. The leader sighs, drawing a weapon. You've outlived your usefulness anyway. What happens next unfolds in seconds. The leader fires at my father. I thrust my hands forward, channeling energy through the markings. A shield of blue light materializes, deflecting the shot. The backlash sends the collectors flying backward. In the chaos that follows, we escape through hidden passages, emerging miles away as dawn breaks over the mountains. The plan forms quickly. While the sanctuary elders distract the remaining collectors, our small group will rescue my mother. 3 days later, we stand outside the mining facility where she's being held. My markings guide us through security systems and past guards, leading us directly to her cell. When I finally see her, thin, exhausted, but alive, something breaks inside me. Her arms bear the same markings as mine, though parts of her skin show surgical scars where they've literally cut pieces away for study. Mom, I whisper. Her eyes widen in recognition, then horror. No, you shouldn't be here. They'll take you too. We're getting you out, I promise, working to free her restraints. As we escape, alarms blare. Guards converge. My mother and I stand back to back, our markings glowing in synchronization. Together, we channel power I could never access alone. The guards fall back before the wave of energy we release. Outside, Rachel waits with a vehicle. Dad stands beside her, his face a mask of regret and determination. I'm sorry, he tells my mother as we approach, for everything. She regards him silently for a long moment before nodding once. We'll discuss it later. For now, we run. In the days that follow, as we find temporary safety in one of Rachel's safe houses, I learn to accept my role as keeper of ancient knowledge. The markings continue to spread slowly up my arms, past my elbows now. Mom says eventually they'll cover my entire body, completing the connection to the repository. Will it hurt? I ask one night as she helps me practice controlling the energy flow. The markings? No, she smiles sadly. But the responsibility they bring? Sometimes. She shows me how to conceal the glow, how to read the symbols more clearly, how to access knowledge without being overwhelmed by it. Dad watches from a distance, trying to rebuild trust one small gesture at a time. Why did you buy me those long-sleeved shirts? I ask him one evening. You knew this would happen eventually. He looks down at his hands. I thought I could delay it. Every year without the markings was another year you could be normal, safe. I understand now. His fear, his desperate attempts to protect me. It doesn't excuse his choices, but it helps me see the impossible situation he faced. As my sophomore year of high school fades into distant memory, replaced by the reality of who and what I am, I sometimes miss the simplicity of worrying about tests and friends. But when I look at my arms, at the glowing script that connects me to generations of keepers before me, I know I can't go back. The markings are a part of me now, and I'm finally ready to understand what they've been trying to tell me all along.